I'm going to touch on something very important that I would like all of you to just give me a short comment on. It's something that Asih actually brought up earlier, the travel rule. Wow. Okay. I speak about this because Luno is going to be implementing the travel rule soon. We informed all of our Malaysian customers. In fact, we've already implemented it in Singapore. So I want to ask each of you to give a quick opinion. But before you do, let me just explain what this phrase travel rule means to the wider audience watching at home. So there is an institution known as the FATF, which stands for the Financial Action Task Force, right? They're an independent intergovernment body, right, that handles policies for global finance, right? Anything to do with anti-money laundering or counter-financing of terrorism and so on and so forth. So they come up with all these policies, and any country that has regulators that subscribe to the FATF system, they follow the rules, right? And one of these new rules is with regards to something known as a travel rule, which essentially in very simple plain English means when you send or when you receive cryptocurrency, you need to declare where you're sending it to and who you're receiving it from. And so this was really met with a lot of mixed reviews online, right? Some people are for it, some people are against it. I'd like each of you to share your opinion on it. Ms. Asih, since you mentioned it earlier, could you just give us a little comment about how Indonesia is reacting to this travel rule news?
Sure, Ross. I think it's we see it as a very positive impact, and also a very positive progress on the regulations. Again, I think since crypto and also blockchain is something that is very hyped now in Indonesia, so a lot of ministries are actually going to us about how the regulation and everything, and also about the concerns about the anti-money laundering and terrorism funding and all. So I think since there is this travel rule, it's very easy for us, for the association, to explain them that there is a specific policy about it, and it's already under Bapepti, under the trade minister. So I think for now, it's a very positive from our perspective and from the industry. And again, there's it's not perfect just yet, but we're giving a lot of feedbacks for the Bapepti.
Okay, it's good to know that there's a lot of positive receptance, and you're obviously poised in a place where you're ready to help people understand. But obviously, it is something new, right? Even in Malaysia, it's something very new. There's room for improvement. I think as long as we can have good feedback between us and the regulators, hopefully we can work things out as well. Mr. Hock, can you share from Singapore's perspective? I believe Singapore has already got some travel rule in place already. Could you perhaps share how have people reacted to it? How is it progressing? Is there a lot of feedback going on? What's the situation like over there in Singapore?
Yeah, thanks, Ross. I think first and foremost, right, we must recognize that actually travel rule is not new. It's just something transplanted from our fiat payment system into crypto. And that is what one of the key reasons why now more countries are recognizing crypto as a legitimate type of transaction, because with the travel rule, we could reduce the risk of money laundering and terrorist financing. I think all the players in Singapore, which are either under XM, already got the payment services license, they have to comply with the travel rule. So that's not a question of whether they like to comply or not. They have to comply if they want to operate in Singapore. Yeah. So I think the key thing about all the players, especially during the early stage, right, is that while FATF state the implementation of a travel rule, but they never state what is the standard to do it. So that resulted in a fragmentation of different players in the market. But we are heartened to see that some of the players, they actually recognize that it makes sense to consolidate. So in Singapore, we have this very vast alliance. So basically, it's an alliance of the crypto exchanges. Most of them are the Blockchain Association members. So they actually just use the same travel solution. So that makes it easier for everyone to comply, because the more people using a system that's compatible with everyone else, it makes implementation easier. But like it or not, I mean, at least for the next few years, there will be multiple systems. So likely everyone will have to implement a few different travel rule systems depending on their relationship among the different exchanges.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah. I think you highlighted two very important things that I picked up. One is that travel rule is nothing very new, right? Banks have been doing it all the time, right? When I put your bank number in, immediately I can see your name there. Where does the information come from? Why isn't anybody, making noise about it? Because it's something we're very used to, I believe. That's why. But you also pointed out that there are a lot of different sort of standards that are going on. There's no like one travel rule fits all, right? Everybody's sort of like interpreting it in their own way. And what I think we're looking forward to is that if we have a standardized system, then perhaps everybody in the industry, very smooth. Crypto can flow easily and smoothly. So I think that's possibly the future that you've painted for us. And it's definitely a future I would like to look forward to as well. We go to Harpreet. Harpreet, in Malaysia, personally, I know you and I are both from Malaysia. Some people in the community were asking me, crypto is about decentralization, blockchain, distributed ledger technology. Why are we having travel rule? How would you respond to the travel rule from that perspective?
I understand why it's there, and why is it really needed, right? But I don't agree with it the way it's been implemented, right? So and I don't think it's really gonna work, right? So if you really look into it from the financial investigator units, like in each of these regulators, from them they're like, oh, we have no data, we need more data so we can actually track where this money is flowing, and then we need implement these new rules so we can do better tracking and tracing of transactions and payments. But from the industry perspective, it's going to be different, right? So from people who are going to be using this crypto space, whoever knows a bit more about DeFi, whoever knows a bit more about, the whole technology space, who are a bit more technically sound, they are going to start moving their money out of, all the regulated industries, right? They're going to be taking out their money from all these RMOs out, right? So because they would want to be in a space, one, where a lot of the development is happening, where a lot of the financial products are being built. And I think something that Jonathan pointed out early on during the opening of this discussion itself, that it has to be a balance, right? A balance, a place for people to innovate, right? Build new products, don't have like too much of, hassles, but at the same time, safe and secure, right? If you feel that by actually gathering a lot of information about it, by using travel rule, you're actually making the space more secure, I don't see it. The counter argument will be, what if these exchanges get hacked, right? What if their database get leaked? Right. Yeah. So now everybody will know that Harpreet has so much of Bitcoin and how much, and if you can see, even our banks are hacked, our telcos are hacked, our government agencies are hacked. More than 50, 60 different of our government agencies' data is all on the darknet. All my IC, all my address, and all my details are there. Not only Malaysian, Indonesian, Singaporean, everybody got hacked. Everybody's databases are on the darknet. How safe are these exchanges, right? Tomorrow, when you implement travel rule, you take everybody's crypto addresses, everybody's balances, everybody's data, one hack, all the data is already on the darknet. Now I know who has more Bitcoin and who to actually target, right? Yeah. So when you say that gathering more data actually secures the ecosystem, I think no, you actually allow them, an easier way of locating your targets, and and also coming up with giving tools to more scammers, right? But I think we need solutions, but I think that we cannot go up and take financial industries, old solutions that actually work really well in closed ecosystems and fix it into an open public blockchain ecosystem space. We need regulators to think on how they can build tools, analytical tools in the space, and they need to work openly with the industry to develop those to counterbalance the AML and ATF, solutions in the space, right? You have to rethink, your regulation thought process if you really want to actually go up and bring a kind of a positive impact, but what they call in this whole industry. But if, let's say, you go up from the perspective that, hey, we can take this old thing that worked in the finance industry, let's go and get more data, it's actually quite risky, right? We are just waiting for one or two exchanges from this regulated industry to get hacked, and then everybody out there will be actually cursing the travel rule. That's my perspective on it.
Yeah. No, I think that's a very good point you bring up as well, Harpreet, this idea about security, right? About anonymity, about knowing that your data is protected. But if people are monitoring, what happens? Who protects the protectors? So I think that's also an important thing that you pointed out. And I like how you phrased it, that it's challenging when you use what has already worked for the finance industry in traditional finance, but to try and apply it to the crypto industry, which didn't even exist, 12, 13 years ago. It's a new industry. And so you're proposing for a new thinking, a new sort of framework, right? A revision of old concepts and coming up with better ways to implement things like the travel rule, to combat against counter financing of terrorism, AML. Perhaps there could be a crypto sort of solution for these things. I think that's a good perspective to have, and something that we as listeners should also consider as well when it comes to things like regulations in the space. Yes, they can definitely be a little bit challenging at times, right? Like Hocklai also mentioned, sometimes one regulator is following this, one is following this standard. Which standard do you follow, right? Or in Asih's case, sometimes they may launch a new taxation, but people may not be certain what it is. There are some gaps to fill. And so these are some of the challenges, I think, that we all face in the blockchain industry, in the crypto regulation space. Although in general, I think from listening to all of you, I think, believe that the rationale behind regulations is good, right? We want to protect people. We want to protect people's currency as well and their crypto, right? And I rest easy knowing at night that, my crypto is safe, right? Wherever it is, whether it's in an exchange or whether it's in a particular wallet or the other. So I think the rationale is good, but we definitely are looking forward to developing together with regulators to improve on the space. Now, we were asking some questions from the audience. I do have just one little question that came in here. It's about DAOs, right? Decentralized autonomous organizations, right? So we talk about governance and regulation with regards to the traditional institutions which are there. But DAOs are like the crypto version of regulation, right? Perhaps I open this to the floor. Whoever would like to share a little bit about your idea of DAOs. Do you think DAOs, crypto DAOs, could be the future of governance in this space? Okay, let's see who would like to take this answer.
I think I'll pick it up.
Okay, sure.
I just wanted to share some perspective because DAO is booming. It's going to actually grow even bigger in the next 2 years, I think, right? Every single, you can see like there's emergence of event DAOs. You can see emergence of protocol DAOs and, like community DAOs, finance DAOs, right? Quite a lot of them are emerging. And then we can see a lot of policy changes as well. We can see where in state of Wyoming, Delaware, like BVI, Malta, Gibraltar, everybody's actually building up policies to attract these companies to structure their DAOs in these jurisdictions. And they actually even allow you to, collectively set up a DAO and go up and even purchase land or, get a bank account and all of those as well, as long as there's already a very clear structure on these DAOs and it's actually maturing. So I think this is going to be followed by other jurisdictions as well. When they see a lot of these DAOs are actually bringing in benefit, where they're bringing in, helping to improve the economy, right? In different regions, they will actually start to structure that in their country as well, and they will set up rules and guidelines according to each of, on what is best for their country or their jurisdiction. Yeah. So I think DAOs are going to mature even further. Because if you really go back and see how is it different from cooperatives, right? How are they different from other sort of business structures that we had previously? That has to be quite clear, right? There has to be, we need to be very clear on how the structuring and the security element at the back and, ensuring who will be the people who are liable for it. Has to be quite clear at the back.
Yeah,
right?
Definitely. So, very true, Harpreet. I'm so sorry to cut you off a little bit early. We are running short on time, but good answer. I think new things and new developments in the space from all our speakers. I think we're looking forward to a very exciting space in terms of governance, in blockchain, in crypto, in regulation. And I think most importantly, the takeaway here is that regardless of what governing crypto regulations are put in place, what's most important is that we have a good communication with the regulators to feedback to them, people on the ground, what is the sentiment like, how can we continue to improve and, mature in the space together. So once again, a very big thank you all the way in Singapore, Mr. Chia Hock Lai from Indonesia, Ms. Asih, and from Malaysia, Mr. Harpreet. Really appreciate all your insights into the crypto regulation and governance space in this interesting and very exciting industry. I think all of you listening at home, this industry is booming. So get in right now and let's see how far we can fly together. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. I really appreciate all of you. And also a big thank you to Wild3 for hosting this session. I'm going to pass the time back to our organizer to continue with the rest of the agenda.